Hello.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. How's your day? How's the weather down in Phoenix?
Oh, I'm further south in Phoenix.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm it's a town called Sierra Vista. Um
Oh, that sounds very exotic.
well,
Like a
I
town
don't
in like one of those Breaking Bad or something.
it's not bad though because we're up more in the mountains, so it stays pretty cool. So
So it's not
it's
like 100 degrees down there like every day like Oklahoma. Jeez. That sounds
yeah.
better.
My my dad's working mostly out of Oklahoma City right now.
Really? What does he do? I think you said he was a engineer in the I listened to your last podcast, which was like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
You said he was like an engineer or something?
Yeah, so he's a mining engineer. Um,
That's cool. So we
and
like it was like
they're opening
coal.
a plant outside of Oklahoma City. So
Oh, nice.
yeah.
So you just like coal and stuff?
Uh he currently it's actually like gypsum and like the hummate, and so it's used for re-nitrogenation of soil. When I was a kid, he did coal, um,
Oh,
and like coal and mine support for coal, but
sounds
yeah,
very specific and things I have no idea about.
yeah.
My grandfather, he was an engineer and he had his own like company and everything. It's a very like mathematical shit that I don't know anything about. And so, did you ever think about going into engineering?
No.
No, but
I
your
did.
brother did.
Yeah. One of my I've got two brothers.
You have
One of
two
my
brothers?
Mhm.
Wow.
They're twins.
Is that why you like John Cena? Because they were into wrestling.
One of them is, yeah.
Oh, nice. Does he still watch
Uh,
it?
I actually don't know.
Oh,
We've
oh well.
um slightly just slightly less close since the pandemic started, and we haven't seen each other that much.
Really? Oh no.
Yeah. But yeah, one of my brothers is a teacher, and the other one is he got his degree in electrical engineering and
Okay.
astrophysics.
Does the other one teach English with you?
No, he's like I guess he's like a teaching assistant, special education middle school teaching assistant.
Oh
Um,
shit. Well, that's cool. So like y'all all went to college, no one like dropped out or like did drugs or anything.
uh, I mean, I finished college, yeah.
Well, there you go.
So,
I'm
but
I'm
yeah,
still in college.
huh?
I'm still I dropped out in 2014. I went back in 2019. I'm trying to finish it off eventually.
Yeah, one of my little brothers took the teacher took a little bit of a non-conventional route. He took a couple years off.
Yeah.
They both took a few years off in the middle, and then the other one took a couple years off before he started. But
So I was gonna ask, how did you find like the Shabby Doll House and like Louis C.K. Shaw and like that group of people?
yeah,
That because we were in a book club
yeah,
poetry group. And before that, there was the newsletter.
yeah. I think the answer, if I remember right, was via Tumblr in like 2013 or 2014. Uh,
Hmm.
is I started following their Tumblr blogs, a few people, and then I started reading the Shabby Doll House when they would release them.
Did you ever submit to that?
I've had a couple things in it. So I
Oh, I should have known
submitted,
that.
I think the first time I was in it was 2015. Um, I remember because I was living in Wisconsin at the time.
How's
Um,
Wisconsin?
Wisconsin is very cold in the winter and very hot
Nice.
in the summer.
Very extreme then.
Yeah. So not as, I don't know, much more extreme cold than Kansas, but I feel like the summers weren't as bad as Kansas.
Hmm. How'd you get into the anime, the Captain Card Captor show?
Uh,
Dude, that show's awesome. I've been watching it on Netflix, and like they
yeah,
got like they don't care if like the characters are gay. They're like all cool with it. It's pretty nice for a kid
yeah,
show, for a little girl show.
yeah. I I really okay. So when I was younger, like Cartoon Network tried to play it, but they like tried to cut out all the gay stuff.
Hmm.
Uh, kind of like they tried to sanitize Sailor Moon as well.
What they do to Sailor Moon? I've never seen it. I don't know
So
that show.
I mean, there's just like one the main character Sailor Moon or Usagi is like someone who expresses interest romantically in both men and women, although
Hmm.
she only dates men. But then there's two of the sailors, Sailor Neptune and Uranus.
Hmm.
They're a lesbian couple, but in
Oh,
the
cool.
American version, they're cousins.
No, that's weird. So do they still like do the same stuff?
Yeah, but it's like so they're like holding hands and stuff, but
Oh, hmm.
like because they're cousins.
They're just really close.
Yeah. So I don't know. I was just like a weird kid and teenager and mostly spent my time online on like anime forums. I
Hmm.
would
Well, like,
download manga and I found Cardcaptor Sakura through that, and so I actually read the manga
oh, that's cool.
when I
How'd you
was
what like interested you in manga or anime like initially?
um
Was it like the communities or was it the art style?
I think initially it was like the art style. I
Hmm.
just found it I found it more engaging than like American style comics, especially at the time. I feel like they branched out more. But I liked the art style. And even though it wasn't super accessible, there was like some at the library and bookstore. And then once I started going online and stuff, I really enjoyed being on forums and stuff
Yeah.
as a young teenager.
When you started drawing and illustrating, did you try that style or did you just oh you
Yeah,
did?
I pretty much so like
Did you make
I
your own like comics?
I tried. They were never very good. I feel like it's really a talent to be able to like replicate the same looking characters constantly.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I taught myself to draw by drawing fan art.
Oh, that's cool. Well, that's how I started writing was like, well, I don't have anything published, but like in high school, I would do like fan fiction of wrestling and stuff. And I feel like that's how a lot of people do get started doing their
Yeah,
fan fiction.
totally. I never wrote fan fiction, but I definitely read quite a bit of it.
Hmm.
But yeah.
And then I noticed in the Cloud County, I feel like that replicated the card captor secure because the girl in the show, she finds these like ancient like art like cards and it like releases chaos and monsters. And then in the Cloud County, you read this book by Egon Schiele, and then right after is like this big like deep fry me in hell, this sizzling moment, and there's kind of like this release of chaos, but within the personal self, not outside the self. And I feel like there was like storms, there was talk of storms happening and they happen, but it's like for the person inside. And then there's also like this fantasy sequence of like the 1987 Ford, and it
Oh yeah.
also and it kind of replicates the Card Captor show where it's like this person may or may not be queer, but we it's really unknown, but it just happens and it makes it seem like it's fine. That's what I liked about this chapbook.
Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Did you intentionally mean to do those things, or did you just put these poems sort of together after a certain amount of time?
Yeah, I think they I didn't write them with the intention of putting them eventually in a chapbook.
Mm-hmm.
But they were all written while I was living in Kansas,
Mm-hmm.
in Cloud County, Kansas. Um,
Oh, is that a real place?
yeah.
Oh, I thought it was like a reference to like an anime thing, like Cloud City or something. Oh, that's cool.
No. I mean, it's a pretty fake sounding name, which is why I used it. But
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
yeah. Um, and so I mean, I put quite a bit of thought into the way I arranged it and which ones I included. But any,
Because it seems like it replicates an entire year throughout the thing.
yeah. And I think that was what I sort of tried to arrange it to do. And what I think I try to do whenever I've done little collections like that before, um, is to try to have some sort of story arc. I think there was an illustrated online chapbook that I did a while back, 2018 or something, um, through Ghost City
The
Press. That I
summer Ghost City thing.
yeah, uh-huh. Um, and I think it's interesting to be able to go back through things that you've written uh, at a certain time and be able to structure them and see a story come about.
Do you think
And I,
if you went back, sorry for interrupting you all the time,
no,
but
you're good.
if you went back to these projects, would you restructure them the same way, or how would you structure them, or would you leave them alone and like that's fine, I'm not gonna mess with that?
Um,
Like, what if you put all of them together in like a book?
yeah, I think I would restructure them. I've thought about that less with the material in Cloud County mostly, and more with some other stuff that I've done and put out, to be a bigger, especially like illustrated project.
Oh, that'd be cool. You should do that.
Um, yeah, I've been because I've been working on part of that um, for the past year, but it's kind of stalled out, and I could see adding some other older stuff in with that.
Hmm.
Um,
When you say it stalls, did you like you're like unmotivated, or just like other life stuff happens?
I think both.
Mhm.
I think when moving here was an adjustment, and I found myself not with. I think my last job in Kansas, I had less time, but I have a longer commute now, uh, and
Yeah, those fucking commutes, man. Dude,
yeah,
because I go to Stillwater, and that's about a 90-minute drive from Tulsa. And they have a shuttle bus from OSU Tulsa to OSU Stillwater, which is okay, but still like if I'm driving there, the morning is okay, but then like after all the classes and everything, and I'm like sweaty, and I
yeah,
go back, and it's just a terrible drive because it takes a lot of energy to still drive, and you're paying attention to all this stuff, and it's exhausting.
yeah. It is, and I know. So it's for me. It's a like about an hour drive one way.
Hmm.
Um, and I've tried to do a thing where I like record. I got a little recorder to like record ideas, but I found myself never really going back to it. So that was a bust. And there's also because I teach at a community college. Um, there's a bus from where I live to the campus, but my classes always start at 8 a.m. and the earliest bus gets to
Damn.
my campus at 9 a.m. So it's like not
God.
possible.
Are there no places by the community college? I'm sure you've looked.
There are. My boyfriend is teaching a- an hour
Oh, dang.
northeast, and I'm teaching
Oh, okay. Shit.
Southwest. So
So on Twitter, you were talking about getting a moped, maybe. Have
yeah,
you looked into that more? I think you should get one.
I think I should get one too. However, I want to. I one think it would be fun.
Yeah,
Uh,
it would be. That sounds fun.
Two, I feel like it would make my morning commute a little bit more fun. The gas mileage is better, but I think financially I need to wait a year.
Really?
Unfortunately,
Uh,
yeah. I just, I mean, I could take out a loan or put it on a card, but I shouldn't. So
yeah. Are you guys making good money down there, but teaching and everything?
yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't ask that. I know people like don't like money questions, but
No, actually, I don't mind. I
okay.
think we are. It's been a little bit of an adjustment, especially for my boyfriend, because we met each other in Kansas, and he had never really lived out of the Midwest. Especially like the biggest place he lived was Springfield, Missouri, and so like rent in small town Midwest versus here, even though it's not that much, comparatively it is. So that's been a little bit of an adjustment. And when we first came out here, he just had like a temporary contract with the University of Arizona, that wasn't super great, but now he's got a better position, at
So
a
wait, he goes to a community college, but like a contract with the Phoenix of
no.
Arizona
So
is
he's teaching at a community college now.
oh, okay.
But when we first came out here, he was teaching at U of A.
Well, I would think U of A would like pay more.
Not if you just have master's degrees. Um,
Really? Oh God.
yeah, so he's got, because he has like a master's in English and then an MFA in creative writing.
I would think that would be like enough to like get paid
Yeah,
a significant amount. I guess colleges just don't pay very
but
well.
I think because I mean, especially since it's a R1 institution and they have like, so their PhDs get a lot more money.
Oh,
And if you get tenure track, but since his was like a temporary contract,
yeah.
it's not as much. But I think what's good here versus where I was teaching in Kansas, which was really cheap, and that part was nice. But I think because the community colleges are trying to like attract people, so that they don't go to teach at U of A or like one of U of A or ASU's satellite campuses, the salaries are pretty good at the community colleges.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah. So
So your last job in Kansas was that when you were doing like a elementary?
no, so in Kansas I was teaching English as a second language at a community college too.
Ah,
When I lived in California, I did elementary school teaching.
when you look back at that now at a much later date, did you enjoy it, or are you glad that you got out of it?
I think the answer is both.
Mhm.
I think I wish I'd had a better experience with it, but I was like mentally in a bad place.
Oh,
My
really?
myself, yeah. And I think also, I don't know, this is not a secret, but like elementary school teachers aren't treated well. Uh,
Mhm.
um, and I really enjoyed teaching the kids, but I also don't think I was necessarily a great fit for it. And I think children deserve to have a teacher who's better than I was at that.
Do you think elementary teachers aren't trained that well, or do you think you
Yeah.
should have been trained more?
Yeah, I should have. And I think part of it was, especially since there's such a teacher shortage, I was hired on like an emergency contract.
Oh, wow.
Emergency, not contract, certificate. Like, so I
Hmm.
didn't have a teaching certificate. I just had a bachelor's and master's degree.
I mean,
And
that's still a lot, though, I think.
it is, but I think, and I taught adults and I taught like teenagers, but the teenagers were like that was when I was right out of college. I taught in Ecuador. And so like any of the teenagers I had were in like an after school program. It wasn't through the school. And it's a lot different to try to teach and keep the attention of like 25 9-year-olds.
Hmm.
Because with them, I think if you're not trying to keep their attention and assessing their behavior, you're doing them a disservice. Whereas if you have a 17-year-old that you keep trying with and they're just like, no, I don't want to be here. I'm like, all right, well.
Has that happened? Where someone like just left?
Um,
I mean, maybe if someone with ADD, I could see that if they're
no,
like a
I think
teenager.
I've had a few things. So in Kansas too, in addition to teaching English as a second language, I would teach composition and I taught like a literature class. Um, and I would have students who were clearly there just for like the gen ed rec, that would be on their phones, which again, I would just tell them like, you know what, you're paying to be here, as long as it's not distracting me or
Hmm.
the other people, do whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but I would have a few times where like a student would have their headphones in like loud enough that we could hear it.
Hmm.
Um, or like someone would leave the classroom for like 25 minutes and come back and say, I don't understand what the assignment is at all. And it's like, yeah,
You should have paid attention.
yeah.
Yeah.
um, or like, and I would have students too, and this I always felt conflicted about when they had back-to-back classes, and would have a hard time getting to the cafeteria. They'd come in like 20 minutes late with their boxes. But then I would have explained what we were doing in the first 20 minutes, and then they'd be like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And so,
If you, in the future, do you think you would ever go back to elementary if they paid a great amount? Is there like a pay figure that you would go back for? Or is it a no-go?
yeah, I think
A
probably,
million dollars.
maybe.
Yeah.
But probably not. Um, I think what I do now is just so it's pretty cushy.
Hmm.
And I've gotten used to that. So
When you were an undergraduate, did you know that you were going to go for a master's? Was that like your goal?
yeah, when I was in undergraduate, I I actually wanted to get my PhD in linguistics. I decided like sophomore year. Um,
Hmm.
I don't think I can imagine a version of myself going to get a PhD anymore,
Yeah.
just because of how grueling I found graduate school.
So
But yeah,
what did you guys do? You read like books on linguistics and
yeah, my
like,
undergraduate, I did do just a pretty general like English liberal arts, but I took a lot of their linguistics focused classes. And then my master's degree was all linguistics, and I focused on second language acquisition, um, but also on child language acquisition and phonetics.
that
So
was stuff like you've always been interested. I feel like that's so specific and like so like straightforward, like you knew exactly what you wanted to do.
no, I I knew I went in knowing I wanted to study English just because it was what I was good at.
Hmm.
And so I did go in with a declared English liberal arts major. But I took an English linguistics class my sophomore year of college, and I really, really enjoyed it. So that's what got me interested in the linguistics side of English.
And,
Um,
and with the second language, you teach like Spanish.
yeah, so I teach English to
Oh, yeah, that's what I meant.
mostly to Spanish speakers.
So did you not? You're so into anime. Did you ever think about learning like Japanese and teaching English to Japanese people?
I did, and I think, frankly, I think it was a matter of what was doable for me after I graduated
Hmm.
from college. I'd sort of wanted to go abroad just to like do that.
Hmm.
Um, and I know some people who have taught in Japan through a program called JET, and others in South Korea and China.
I think Lucy K. Shaw, like she teaches English to small children in I don't know if it's Japan or Korea. It's one of
Yeah,
those.
I think she does too. Um, but I was kind of like those, if you like go and live there and
Hmm.
teach, a lot of those have like really rigorous background checks
Oh, really?
and stuff.
Well, that
And
would make sense. I mean, you don't want to
I
get
didn't,
some weirdo.
yeah, I didn't start applying until kind of late in the game because I had a situation where I thought I was going to have to like live with and help out my family because my dad had lost his job and been out of a job for a while.
Oh no.
And then that situation got resolved. So I was kind of like,
Well, that's good.
well, I can start applying and wait a year or see if there's any other places that I can move to, like more last minute. And
Did you think you'd have to drop out because of the dropping?
what was what was worked out for me is when that happened, I only had a semester and a half left.
Oh,
Um,
that's good.
and so I thought I might, but I figured like it would be better if I just like finished up that semester and then I could have a bachelor's degree for whatever I was applying for.
Hmm.
Um, but anyway, so like I was able to last minute find um, in Ecuador in South America um, a place that I could start in a couple months. So I did
Hmm.
that instead.
And during this time, are you writing poetry and sending it
Yeah,
out?
um, I think I had always written a little bit. And I took a couple workshop classes in undergrad.
Hmm.
Actually, I took more fiction classes. And I only took one poetry workshop, but I found I really liked that. And so while I
Did
was
you
living abroad, I wrote a lot, and that was when I started really writing regularly.
did you ever think about getting a master's or PhD or MFA in creative writing?
I did. Um, and I think it was really more just like a pragmatic choice.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Um, I felt like I could get a graduate degree in linguistics and still do writing pretty
Yeah,
easily. But I couldn't do the other way around as
yeah, that's
easily.
true.
But I told myself if I didn't get into any of the programs I'd applied for in linguistics, that I was going to try applying for MFA programs.
Have you thought about currently teaching your own workshop online to people?
Uh, no, I don't think I'd
No?
be
Oh.
good at it. Yeah.
Do you think you'll ever consider it? Maybe if you publish more and you get more confidence? Or no?
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
I think everyone should because it's so like offer cheap alternatives to these online sites, literature sites that are like 500, $700 for, workshops.
yeah. I guess I I would consider it if I like both publish more, but also took more of those
Mhm.
online classes and the cheap alternatives to like get a feel for like what works for people and what doesn't.
Yeah.
I just at this point I think there's other people out there that do it better than me, so
Who
they
do you
should.
think who do you think does it better? Maybe I'll let you know.
Um,
Well, I haven't
well,
taken yours yet, so I don't can't really compare.
yeah, I don't know. I know like Caroline.
Yeah, I liked hers. Hers was fun. I
Yeah,
did that with Oscar.
yeah. So like I don't know if I could ever be that structured. Maybe some summer since I don't work during the summer.
Someday. Do you like to create during the summer when you have time off? Because I saw like you're doing illustrations like every 2 weeks. I was like, damn, that's pretty structured to be able to do that and get something out.
Yeah, I think it really sort of depends. I've had, I think if I like a lot of the ways I use the internet and like how I used Tumblr too was like I would say I was gonna do something and then
Mhm. Not do
once it was
it.
there and I had to commit to it, I would.
Yeah.
I also have to say, like, it's been interesting, like, living with someone. I never lived with a partner before I moved last summer. And so now, like, I have to be more conscious of, like, if I'm just blasting music or an audiobook and, like, having my, like, supplies everywhere.
Mhm.
Um, and so I found that at the beginning of the summer, this particular summer, I was pretty structured and had a plan, but once the plan that I was doing ran out, I had a harder time making myself do anything. So,
Yeah.
um,
Did your boyfriend had he lived with people before?
yeah.
Oh, okay. And did you guys only know each other for a little bit of time before you moved in?
No, we had known each other for a while because I was in
Oh.
Kansas. We met in 2017 and started dating in 2018.
Oh, okay.
Um, so we'd been together for a bit, but it was like when we were living in Kansas, especially since we both worked at the same place, we saw each other all the time anyway.
Was that ever
Um,
annoying?
no,
Oh,
I don't think so. It was good, but I think it would have been annoying if we'd lived together.
yeah.
And it was so cheap there because it was like a town of less than 5,000 people. So I had like a one bedroom apartment that was $350.
That ain't bad, man.
Yeah, it was, especially
Jeez.
since, especially since I moved there from that year of living in the Bay Area of California. It was like,
It's
um,
amazing. Have y'all ever considered like you and your boyfriend like working on a creative project, like starting a magazine or something? Or have you ever thought about editing a zine or starting one?
yeah, I've thought about it. He's done stuff like that. Like I know he, when he was in his MFA, he was like uh, one of the things they could do in there. He went to Bowling Green, Ohio, um, and so he worked on their lit mag through the school. Um, I think I would be interested in doing that as long as I was in a place I felt like I could do it really consistently and get back to people in a timely manner.
Mhm.
I think that that's really important, and I wouldn't want to try to do it on my own. But Andy and I sort of try to keep our own creativities separate. So,
And he writes fiction, you do illustrations and poetry.
yeah.
So you were saying you wanted to get back to people in a timely manner. Have you sent out things to magazines and they never respond or they don't respond in a timely manner? Is that something that like aggravates you?
Yeah, and the thing is, I've had that happen, and I've had like uh, sending like a collection of work to someone and they're like, oh, great, let's edit this together. And then they're like, oh, actually, I'm not going to publish anything.
Really?
Yeah. And the thing is, like, it's
A waste of
usually,
energy.
huh?
It's like a waste of energy and time for people.
It is. And they usually have like legit things that happen and come up that I
Oh.
understand. But then, so it's like, I want to make sure that I'm in a place and working with people that if something happened to one of us, the other person could step in, you know?
Yeah.
That way,
And be committed.
yeah, that way everyone is able to get what they want. I think it would be fun to try to down here get like a reading series or something started. But
Is there a community down there?
somewhat. So
Do
it's
you
funny.
prefer the virtual online community?
Yeah, I think there is. So I live in the town of Sierra Vista, which is the biggest town in my county. It's a little under 50,000 people. But there's a couple like small enclaves and smaller um, towns that are pretty like funky. And there's this one town called Bisbee that has a lot of like musicians and traditional art. It's this old copper mining town. But it's funny because I haven't really seen like any writing community or like writing group. And before we left Kansas, Andy and I did try to start, this was something we did together, like a community writing group. And we got that started. We were meeting every other week. We started in February of 2020, so we know how that story goes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Right before everything hit.
because we were like, the coffee shop there had like a back room. They're like, yeah, and like we advertised around town, and we had a couple coworkers and then a couple people in town who wanted to like do writing projects. But um, so, but I think it would be fun to, like I said, try to get something started in one of the coffee shops in one of the smaller towns here.
Would you
Also,
ask people from like other states?
I think first see if there's any interest in it locally, and then maybe, or even just
Yeah.
like
I feel
get.
like you're well known enough and you have enough reference to ask people to come and join your little show or reading series and put your name like in the title of it.
Yeah, maybe we'd have to see. But I think it would be doable, especially now that I've been here a year. I kind of wanted to get settled down before I try to do any of that.
Yeah. Do you think I guess I'll go back to the poetry. Who was your like your favorite poet when you were like coming up when you started out doing poetry? Would you like the older dead people or did you like modern?
Yeah, I guess when I was in college, it was mostly older dead people, if I'm being
Hmm.
honest. But my last like for my minor was writing, and it wasn't like creative writing, it was just writing generally.
Yeah.
Um, and I had a professor, Lisa Zimmerman, who like after one of the like workshops that we did with one of my poems, she's like, I think you would really like this little chapbook. And it was Chelsea Martin.
Oh
Um,
yeah, dude. I have it right here. I was gonna say you remind me of her.
yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
And so I think I still really like Chelsea Martin's stuff, but that was when I was like, oh, there's like a whole other like group of modern people who feel this way too.
Mhm.
And I feel like 21 is maybe a little bit old to be realizing that, but
No, I don't think so.
um
Have you ever met her?
no.
Not yet. One day.
I'm frankly such a hermit. I just I tried not to be when I was living in the Bay Area, and I met a few people there, but
Well, maybe you can meet her online though. I took
yeah,
one of her courses. It was pretty fun.
nice.
Yeah. So, in your poem, 1987 Ford, was the character queer?
That was what I was imagining. Yeah.
Okay. Was that like was it fantasy or was it? Maybe I shouldn't like ask what the intention was. So if readers, I don't know. Sometimes I don't like to ask, but you're here, so I'll ask you.
Yeah. And
Do you identify as queer?
yeah, I do.
Okay.
As bisexual.
Okay. Cool.
And so yes, that was the intention there, and it was like almost like a daydream,
Hmm.
inspired by someone I had a crush on.
Did you guys date?
No. Uh,
Oh. Did you ever consider like going out with women and living with a woman?
yeah, yeah. I think the answer is yes. And this is with my boyfriend. It's my first long-term relationship. I've casually dated women before. Um, but at the moment, I feel like I'm in a long-term monogamous relationship. So
Hmm. I heard when they date, they go the relationship goes really quickly. Like they'll like move in real fast and like get married.
yeah,
Did you find that? I guess not.
no, and I think it was just for me, especially like it's again, I was just like so not interested in like committing to anything or like,
You're
living
on
anywhere for a long time.
you're focused on
Um,
your own
yeah,
goals.
so usually it's just a couple dates thing.
So I guess I'll get back to the poetry. Did you I think that I saw you working on something now on a project now and you're talking about looking through the Bible and you've been
Hmm.
posting about Catholicism.
Yeah.
So is that like a strong are you gonna move away from the queer stuff and move towards that, or is the queer stuff always gonna be an undercurrent in your poetry? Because that was something I really enjoyed about this, where like there was no real references to like other men except for like Egon Schiele, but that was about the art thing. That's
Yeah, I think it would always be an undercurrent. And I think what I've been working on um, is more that, like, I don't know, I've been working and I've had one published and one accepted somewhere, but like some parables from hell and some psalms.
hmm.
Uh, Here, just a second. I'm going to adjust something here.
Okay,
I'll be right back.
no problem.
Honestly, I feel like I'm more interested in the form uh, the,
Oh
than
really?
necessarily the content with the Bible
Can you hear
stuff.
me?
Yeah.
Are you having trouble hearing me?
No.
Okay. Oh okay.
I'm good.
Okay. I was just making sure.
Yeah.
So you're more interested in the form of the way that it's written and the
Yeah.
craft of it?
Uh-huh. Um,
What interests you about the form?
well, I think I've always really liked the form of like the Psalms and the little parables. Um, and I also always really liked old dead poets, William Blake and his Proverbs of Heaven and Hell. Uh,
Yeah. I have not read those, but sounds interesting.
I think he is an interesting old dead white guy.
Yeah.
And he was mostly during his life, he was more well known for his like watercolor illustrations, and he would like illustrate people's stuff. And he wasn't as well known for his writing, which I think is interesting. Um,
Did you get into him because of his art or his writing?
um, I because of his writing first,
Hmm.
and then later I looked up more stuff about him. So,
And some
um,
of your illustrations, I was wondering if there were like other things going on. Like in the back, on the back of the book with
mhm.
the woman, like she doesn't have a mouth. I was wondering if that meant like there is something unspeakable, if that's what like that was being said, or if she just didn't have a mouth because you didn't put one on her.
Yeah, it's. I wish it were deeper, but it's more like I was just playing around with the style a little bit.
Oh, okay.
So,
And then on in the poem where you talk about looking at the favorite painter Egon Schiele. Is that how you say his name? Am I saying it wrong?
I think Sheil or Sheila, it depends.
Oh, okay. But you talk about only looking at the hands, and
Hmm.
I looked this guy up on Wikipedia, and it said he got in trouble because he would do these expressionist paintings of nude people. And so I thought it was interesting that you're only looking at the hands. So maybe there's something unspeakable going on within this narrator, that she's avoiding something.
Yeah, I think.
There's like a shame or an embarrassment of desire being desired.
I think that is definitely part of it. I think because of his paintings, part of what he got in trouble for is they were overtly sexual, but overtly he painted prostitutes
Oh, okay.
um, too. But I think the a lot of the expression. I wanted the narrator to be talking about the expression is mostly in the hands, I think, in his paintings. So like
Yeah.
focusing away from the sexuality and more on the expression.
Hmm. The absence of the body,
Yeah.
maybe. Because in the
Hmm.
next illustration, there's a bed, but there's no
Hmm.
one on the bed or in the bed. I was like, oh, there's like there's an absence of this body. I
Yeah.
thought that had to do with the painting of the Egon Schiele. And I liked also in the poem, there's this idea of in the job, there's like these coworkers, and they're all talking about this big event is going to happen between the boss and the coworkers, and how like nothing ends up happening, but
Hmm.
like as people, we build up these ideas in our head, like there's this big event going to happen, but then really nothing even ever happens.
Yeah.
I love that.
Uh,
And then it says literally, it says like nothing fuming, no fizzling. But then within like the next two illustrations, you have the deep fry me in hell, where the
yeah.
fizzling, but it's like within the self of the person
Yeah.
and not the outside world.
Yeah.
Did you do that? Do you do that on purpose, or did it all just come together accidentally? I do,
Um,
I kind of like to not know, but I'm still gonna ask.
all I'll say is I think uh, for me, it's something I try I find interesting both in reading and when I try to write is that sort of disconnect between what we expect and the way we build things up in our head, and
Hmm.
then how it actually feels in the moment, and then the reaction to that. So that much is definitely intentional.
Oh, that's
Um,
cool.
yeah,
So you're trying to tell stories.
yeah, I
I
would
like
say
that.
so.
What
Um,
you do you know what the story is going to be when you're just writing these little poems? Or do you know when you're putting it together, you're like, oh, this could be a story. And then do you get when like maybe no one sees this or reacts to it? Do you get does is that frustrating?
uh, I
Or maybe
don't.
people do react that way. I don't know to it.
I think whatever way people react is fine, and I don't really feel frustrated with it. But I think it really
Well, that's good.
it depends on it depends on the poem and the situation, right?
Hmm.
Like I've had things that I've done before that I know what I want at the beginning and the end, and sometimes the middle is a little bit jumbled, but I get there. But
Yeah.
other times it comes together later.
Have you thought about writing a book just by itself on its own without sending out the poems first to a magazine or a zine? I mean, I
Um,
guess you did that. I guess you said you did that before with the illustrations.
mhm. So like working on it as
As
a
a
book
book on its
first.
own, yeah, and just a book, and then publishing that.
Uh,
Do you prefer to send out the poems?
I think yes, I've thought about doing that.
Mhm.
The thing is, I think I do sort of need a lot of the times external motivation, and so I'll get stalled on a project for a while, and then if I send part of that out, it feels like I'm still doing something.
Yeah.
Um, Especially if I then go back to it and edit it to get it to where I want to send it out. So it's a lot about motivation, I think.
With the illustrations, do you send those out with the poems, or do you keep those separate? Because I've seen
Uh,
you mix them more so now, mixing them together.
yeah, I tend to keep those separate.
Mhm.
Um, and I've thought about like, but I think that's for me when I send something out, especially with what I'm trying to work on now. Um, if I want those to only be in there and all together when whatever section of that is completed, and when I'm sending things out, it's the word part is completed, but I don't want it all on the page at the same time. I don't
Really?
know. I guess until it's all done and together, I'm having a hard time expressing that. But like,
You don't like that it's feels incomplete. You want it
yeah,
completed within the book.
yeah. And so um, like the couple I've sent out that are the parables from hell, and I have illustrations I want to go with those, right?
Mhm.
But I want them like all the parables together with the illustration. Um,
Yeah. Well, that makes
sort of,
sense. I mean, it's your thing.
yeah. And
You should
so
choose how it's represented.
I think, but I think some of them can stand alone as their own thing, and so like
Yeah.
there it is without the illustration, but the illustration is part of the whole thing.
Do you have a way that you want it designed? Like with this chapbook, when you were putting it together, did you tell the people who put it out? Well, didn't you put this out yourself?
Yeah, I did that
Okay.
myself.
Did
Um,
you decide to do that because you didn't like the way that other publishers like maybe would take more time to wait for it to get published, or maybe
yeah,
no one pick it up? I'm
yeah,
sure it
and
would have
then
gotten picked up, but
I don't know, and it was just like a little bit of a way for me to like collect that writing and organize it from
hmm. Do you
that time
enjoy
there.
doing it on your own?
Mm, to an extent, I think something that length I do, yeah.
Yeah.
And I like the control, and um, I even like messing with the layouts and stuff and watching it come together. I think for something longer, uh, I wouldn't like that as much,
Yeah.
but I do have fairly specific visions of the way that I would want them to look.
And when you're sending it out to maybe like a zine or something, and they were to publish, if they had their own publisher, how much of the editing process goes into them editing like the manuscript, and maybe it doesn't come out your vision. Is there like a lot of that goes? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think my experience has always been positive.
That's good.
When I've had editors come back with feedback and like, I think we should arrange this way, it's always been like, oh, I think you're right. So I can't say that I've had a bad experience with it, but it can be kind of hard to give that to someone else and allow them to mess with your vision, even if the
Yeah.
outcome's positive.
Do you think if you ever ran your own zine and you published other people's stuff, would it feel like a waste if they like if you're trying to publish their book and you wanted it put a certain way and you think it would be better, but they were like, no, I want it this other way.
Uh, I
That'd
think
be
it's
weird, I guess.
yeah, I think it's ultimately should be up to
Yeah, it should be up to the
the
writer.
the creator.
Yeah,
I would just hope that I'd be able to give them good outside perspective the way other people have done for me, you know.
yeah. Is there any editors specifically you'd like to name that like really helped you?
Um, so I think with sorry, something is going on. Uh Chadwick Redden, I don't know if you
No, I don't
he
know.
he and I worked on a project together of my writing that didn't end up going anywhere.
Hmm.
Um, Actually, it did end up going somewhere. It became my like first collection. Someday I'm going to be so happy.
Hmm.
Um, and he, I think, really helped me with that. Helped me make it more cohesive. Uh, was able to like sometimes give me feedback on arranging stanzas and stuff. Like maybe this could be a little bit more impactful if we flip just these two lines. So I really appreciated him as an editor. Um, I've had before Lucy give me really good feedback as well. Um,
What did she say?
Honestly,
Wow.
the time I'm thinking of, so it was so long ago, I can't remember the
Oh, okay,
specifics.
fine.
Uh,
I
but
love that girl.
I remember it was like
I love a good Lucy bit of information.
no, it was like on a longer poem and combining some stuff, and she gave me, but I can't remember the specifics.
Hmm.
So,
Would you ever send something to her for the shabby or the what's it called? The profound experience like publisher thing she's doing.
oh yeah, I don't know. Maybe I would.
Maybe. There we go.
I don't. If I think that would be like more if she approached me, but at the
Lucy, if
moment,
you're out there,
no,
approach Carmen.
at the moment, I don't have anything that's ready for that.
Well, maybe the
So
parables from hell in the future.
yeah, if I work hard enough on them,
So
if I get
you put
more
out
of them written and edited.
you put out so much material. So when you lose motivation, don't you like look back and like, well, I've done all this, so I can keep going.
Yeah, I do. And I've sort of tried to do that at the moment as well. Um,
Or is it more maybe physiology, like maybe that's the wrong word, in your head, where like there's things going on
I
that you can't control?
I think I just want to get lazy, but too I get frustrated with the way something's going. So what I'll end up doing is like right now I have some stuff that I wrote several months ago and I've had a hard time writing the things I want to write, so I've just gone back to those and edited them.
Hmm.
And I've
Well, that's
I've written
good. At
I've
least you have
written
all a lot of things to work on.
and I've written bits and pieces of a more present thing, but it's sometimes it's slow going and it's frustrating and it's better to just go back to other things. Or
At least you're currently working on multiple things, so
yeah,
you can go back, work on something else, and then get demotivated on that, and then come back to the other thing you're demotivated on. Get motivated
yeah.
on that.
And I think I also like a lot of the times if I'm feeling frustrated with writing, I'll do painting or
hmm
illustration for a while, and then I'll go back and forth. So
Have you
I've
thought about like
also
painting large paintings, or do you
um
prefer the size that you do right now?
I've done some slightly bigger things, but I really prefer to just be able to work on my little desk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not gonna get a giant canvas.
No. I think
Yeah.
when I've done bigger things, like what um my Twitter emoji, my avatar is from one of the bigger things I've done, which is over here somewhere.
You're a very stylish house.
Thanks.
Very
Uh,
hip.
I can't take all the credit for it. It's only half mine, and Andy's better at decorating than me. Let's see. So, like, I've worked up to this size. Yeah, like this,
Oh yeah,
which is
that's pretty
bigger.
large. That's
But
cool. You
I
ever
just
mess up and then like, oh, I got to start all over, or do you just keep going and like try and fix it, or do
yeah,
you improvise?
I abandon projects all the time.
Oh, you do? Oh,
For drawing. Um, I think this one I just pulled out these was colored pencil, and colored pencil and marker I think are pretty unforgiving. Um,
really?
yeah, there's the
How so?
original of that.
Oh, that's
This is the
cool.
zine.
How'd you get it down to like this size?
Um,
Computer, I guess.
yeah, I scanned
Yeah.
it and messed with it.
Oh, that's neat.
I think I'm not. What's fun about Photoshop is you can get monthly subscriptions to it and then cancel it. So like when I was doing
Yeah,
that, I just got a month of it.
it's like 20. How much is it a month? Like, those things are expensive, man.
If you just do it for
50
like
bucks a month.
no, if you just do it for like the month, you can always like I've had luck with being like first month is $9.99 and $9.99, and then it'll
hmm
go up. And I've had luck with just doing it for 1 month and then canceling.
There you go. You got to learn it and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever bought your own website and then like designed it and everything, but then like you never told anyone? I've done that multiple times.
Uh, I did that once, but not multiple times. But
Uh,
it was like
wait,
2012 or
what were you
something.
making?
Oh, that was just writing.
Oh, okay. Like your
So
own zine, online zine.
yeah,
That's
but
cool. So are there any writers right now that you're really excited about or into?
um, yeah, I think
Who?
that there's quite a few of like smaller names. I really have liked Sebastian
Yeah,
Castillo's
he's awesome,
writing.
man.
Yeah.
I
Um,
think he's doing a book right now with Lucy, apparently.
yeah.
Secret
Um,
book.
Secret book. Um, I think um, of
How when did you learn about him? Just through the group?
yeah, well, yeah, just like again through Tumblr and Twitter and
You should invite him to your reading series. He would come
uh,
down.
yeah, we'll see if I end up doing anything with that.
It's just an
Um,
idea right now, I guess.
yeah, it is just an idea.
Do you have to
Um,
like pay for people's travel, or do they pay it on themselves? I've always wondered that.
in
'Cause I've
my
heard
ex
that people they pay their own travel.
Yeah, I think if it were through like a bigger organization, they might pay, like if it were through a university. But
Oh, okay.
um, I think everything else I've seen is just they pay their own way.
Yeah. Well, he makes a lot of money. He can pay his own way, and he could
Um,
like come down with a bunch of people that are in that area that
yeah,
know, and they could all have a big adventure going down to your reading series.
yeah, it would be fun. Um,
And I heard on an interview you said you were in, like, you stayed in New York once.
mhm.
How long was that, and when was that?
So that was not very long. I was there for like 3 or 4 months. Um, it was just a summer, really. I was staying with my aunt.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
yeah. Uh, and that was in 2014.
Oh, that was when like everything was going down.
Yeah, but I didn't really leave the house that much.
Oh,
Uh,
did she live in the
s-
city or the?
huh? Yeah, well, she lives in Astoria in Queens, so yeah.
Oh, did you go to a
Not
lot of the reading? Well, you just said you didn't go out much. I guess you didn't go to a lot of readings.
No, I went to a couple readings, but I mostly
Do you still have friends that you knew from meeting them at those readings?
mm, I have a I have a couple. Um,
It was such a big time back then.
yeah, but not really from then, because again, I
A lot has happened.
didn't. Yeah, I didn't really. It was a time where I was like in between um, coming back from South America and
Oh,
going to graduate school.
did you think you'd still be writing poetry back then and putting out stuff?
I guess I didn't really even think about it. I
Okay.
didn't think about what it'd be like to be 30, but
When you're 40, where do you want to be?
um, I think still doing what I do, but both job wise and hobby wise. But
Do you want to have like tenure or whatever that is?
yeah, I mean, that would be nice. I think
Yeah.
luckily at community colleges, that's a lot less competitive than what it looks like at a university.
Do you want to have like a novel out? Would you write fiction?
I
Or do
don't
you
think
think,
I don't think so. I don't think I have the talent for that. But
oh, come on.
uh I would
You've done
like
so much. I wish you were like higher on yourself.
I would like to be able to make myself stick to my projects
Oh, okay.
that I start more than I am at the moment.
Maybe you'll get that illustration book out.
Yeah, maybe. We'll
And you'll
see.
have like collections of illustrations, or maybe you could have like at museums where they hold exhibitions. I think
Oh
they're
yeah.
called, like with all your
Yeah.
work and like all that stuff.
Yeah,
Like
I don't
that,
know.
what's her name? Mary Boo. I think she's done stuff like that at like museums.
Yeah, I think she
She's
has
pretty cool.
too. Hmm.
Maybe you and her could do something at like a museum.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Uh, but I don't know what the future holds.
More poetry. All right. I guess it's been an hour, so
Yeah.
I will
Well,
let I will let you go unless you want to keep going.
no, I've got some things I should do,
All
which
right.
is start dinner. But
Oh, okay. What are you gonna have for dinner?
I'm gonna make. Um, kind of excited about it. It's a like savory tart, but instead of a regular crust, it uses crispy potatoes.
Oh, that's
Uh,
cool. I
so
heard I heard crust is hard to make.
it's fun to make, but it can be difficult, I think, depending on how you're doing it.
You make
Um,
it out of potatoes?
Not just for this recipe. I haven't ever done it before, so I'm
Wow.
excited
I
to
hope it
try
works
it.
out. Put it
Yeah.
on Twitter and let us know.
Yeah, for sure.
So if people want to follow you, it's at the real Seabrad.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Thank you for doing this. This was awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem.